I have studied the shape of ambition. It is not a straight line, as the foolish believe. It is a loop, one that circles endlessly around a man's ability to command himself. You may climb the tallest mountain of gold, but if your hands tremble, your eyes wander, and your appetites outrun your plans, you will slide back down that mountain faster than you ascended it. The true war is not against poverty, nor against competition, nor the scarcity of opportunity. The true war is against your lack of control, and if you lose that war, no amount of earning will save you. You think you need more money, but money is not your enemy. Chaos is. A man ruled by chaos will sabotage himself again and again, spending without awareness, agreeing without thinking, reacting without pause. He will chase urgency. He will defend impulse. He will call every distraction a necessity and every indulgence a reward. He will not build wealth. He will burn it with his own hands. Because deep down, he believes more money will make him disciplined. And yet discipline has never come from abundance. It is born from restraint, from clarity, from the willingness to feel lack and not run from it. If you cannot delay gratification, you are not poor, you are unarmed. If you cannot sit still in discomfort, you are not unlucky, you are exposed. You walk into the market like a soldier without armor, mistaking your hunger for a strategy. And so every shiny thing wounds you, every signal pulls you, every offer devours your focus. The man who has no control will spend years solving the wrong problem. He will switch careers, chase side hustles, triple his income, and still feel broke. Why? Because his instincts were never forged into discipline. They were only indulged. I have seen emperors fall and peasants rise, not because one was smarter or luckier, but because one knew how to govern his emotions and the other let his emotions govern him. This is not poetic. This is tactical. You are not at the mercy of the world. You are at the mercy of your inner habits, your reflexes. If you sabotage every moment of progress with one moment of comfort seeking, you are not losing. You are choosing. You are choosing to remain in a battlefield where every weapon you create is turned against you the moment it is earned. Some will say, "But I make enough money. I just need to learn how to manage it." No, the management begins in your mind, not your bank account. Before you manage money, you must manage momentum, manage energy, manage the storm inside you that craves shortcuts, validation, and relief. If you have not mastered these battles, more money will only amplify your instability. It will accelerate your mistakes. You will simply build bigger prisons with fancier walls. Look closely at the patterns. When you feel anxiety, do you open your wallet? When you feel bored, do you open a new tab to buy something you do not need? When you feel inferior, do you reach for appearance over substance? Every one of these habits drains your war chest. You think you're coping, but you are caving to the oldest tactic of all, disarming a man by tempting him to disarm himself. This is why you must stop measuring your wealth by your income alone. A man is not rich if he cannot keep what he earns. A man is not wealthy if his peace is destroyed by every market crash or social comparison. True wealth is quiet. It is self-controlled. It is protected by discipline, not flaunted through consumption. It is not loud because it does not need to be seen to exist. And this kind of wealth, internal, unshakable, cannot be earned through effort alone. It must be forged through refusal. The refusal to indulge every mood. The refusal to escape discomfort with dopamine. The refusal to lie to yourself about what progress really looks like. And progress looks boring. Progress looks repetitive. Progress looks like walking past the thing you want, again and again, because you are choosing what you need. Discipline is not glamorous, but it is undefeated, and those who master it will never be enslaved by their own success. They will not outgrow their habits. They will outlast them. So let me ask you plainly, how much energy are you wasting trying to out-earn your dysfunctions? How much of your ambition is being siphoned off by habits you refuse to face? If you doubled your income tomorrow, would your life truly change, or would the chaos just upgrade its wardrobe? The enemy is not the number in your bank account. It is your tolerance for disorder. It is your excuses disguised as self-care. It is your fear of discipline masked as freedom. Control is not the opposite of liberty. It is its guardian. Without it, you are not free. You are only ungoverned. And the ungoverned fall. Always. There is a question I ask of every man who seeks power. Can you sit still when the world tempts you to move? Can you restrain your appetite when the scent of comfort calls your name? These are not philosophical riddles. They are battlefield questions. Because if you cannot say no to yourself, you are already saying yes to defeat. And the enemy does not need to break you. He only needs to wait until you break yourself. In war, the undisciplined soldier is not placed on the front lines, not because he lacks courage, but because he is unreliable. He fires too early, he steps too far, he gets distracted by sounds that mean nothing. Now consider, in your own war for success, for wealth, for self-mastery, are you that soldier? Do you act too soon? Chase too many paths? Panic at noise that should mean nothing? If so, no strategy can save you, because no general wins with men who cannot stand still in formation. The modern world rewards movement, not mastery. It praises those who act quickly, who pivot fast, who hustle without rest. But I do not admire motion without meaning. I admire the man who can wait with a still mind, act with a clean aim, and walk away from temptation without grief. He may not look impressive in the beginning, but he always outlasts the noise. He is not controlled by trends. He does not flinch at setbacks. His control is his edge, and no one can buy it, fake it, or steal it from him. I've seen kings lose their thrones over a single moment of indulgence. I've seen warriors fall because they celebrated too soon. And I've seen ordinary men rise above them all, not through brute strength, but through invisible discipline. They woke up early. They saved when it hurt. They denied when it tempted. They sat in silence when others demanded noise. Over time, the world called them lucky. But I knew better. They were simply in control. The battlefield does not reward potential. It rewards precision. And precision begins where your chaos ends. So tell me, have you made peace with discomfort yet? Or do you still treat it like a disease? Do you still expect success to feel like pleasure and growth to come wrapped in comfort? If so, you are not at war. You are in a dream. And dreams do not build empires. They build excuses. Control is the only weapon you carry with you into every room, into every deal, every relationship, every crisis. Without it, you negotiate from weakness. You lead with noise. You chase praise instead of purpose. And worst of all, you confuse excitement with clarity. But clarity is quiet. It whispers, and only the disciplined can hear it. The enemy within you is clever. It does not attack through obvious failure. It attacks through rationalization. It says, "You deserve this," after one small win. It says, "This won't hurt," before every self-betrayal. It says, "One time doesn't matter," until you've drifted months from your path. And all the while, your external life appears stable. But your internal kingdom is collapsing, silently, invisibly, and completely. No one will warn you. No alarms will sound, because lack of control does not announce itself like a thief. It waits until you are successful, then feeds on your unpreparedness. It multiplies in prosperity. This is why the rich man who lacks discipline is poorer than the frugal laborer. He cannot protect what he builds. He cannot say no to what destroys him, and he will spend his fortune chasing the very peace he forfeited long ago. So the next time you think about earning more, ask yourself, have I earned control yet? Because if you haven't, more money will only widen the cracks in your foundation. It will not fix you. It will expose you. You will go from escaping bills to escaping yourself. You will hide your lack of control behind abundance until it all crumbles. The disciplined man is not afraid of wealth. He is prepared for it. He has lived below his means, not because he had to, but because he chose to. He has walked past temptations so many times that they no longer slow his stride. He does not celebrate prematurely because he knows the war is never over. It only shifts terrain. And this mindset, this formation, is what makes him dangerous, because no one can move him without his permission. You cannot outlearn, outwork, or outsmart your lack of control. You must outdiscipline it, and that begins with truth. The truth of your habits, the truth of your triggers, the truth of your excuses. Do not decorate these things with clever words. Call them what they are: chaos, sabotage, surrender, and then cut them off, ruthlessly, not because you are harsh, but because you are at war. And in war, what cannot be trusted must be removed. You are not here to feel better. You are here to win. You are not here to be liked. You are here to lead. You are not here to avoid pain. You are here to build a fortress so strong that not even pleasure can breach it without your command. And that command is control. Most men misunderstand what control is. They think it means suppression, a cold, rigid denial of all pleasure. But that is not control. That is fear wearing a mask of discipline. True control is freedom. It is the ability to choose, to delay, to pause, to reflect, without collapsing into your own cravings. Control is not the absence of desire. It is the presence of order. It is knowing that you are bigger than your urges, not because you fight them all day, but because you've placed them where they belong, behind your strategy, not in front of it. I have studied commanders who lost battles before they even began, not because they lacked soldiers, but because they lacked focus. They were scattered in purpose, distracted by gossip, drawn into emotional traps. They moved not because it was time, but because they were restless. And restlessness is the death of strategy. Do you know how many lives have been ruined not by failure, but by the inability to sit with discomfort without responding to it? A man who cannot hold his position will never hold his wealth. He will look successful for a moment, and then vanish. You'll hear stories. He was doing so well. What happened to him? What happened was simple. He was not in control. He was managing the outer war, but losing the inner one. He mastered tactics, but ignored temperament. And the battlefield of life has no mercy for men who build empires with shaky hands. This is why, in my world, the greatest victories are not public. They happen in silence. When a man wakes up early, not because he feels like it, but because it's the time he chose. When he walks past a shortcut, not because it isn't tempting, but because he knows the long path forges endurance. When he holds his tongue in a moment of pride, not because he is weak, but because he is focused. These are unseen victories, and they are more powerful than any battle cry. You ask me how to gain control. I will not give you easy answers. I will give you a mirror. Look at how you react when things don't go your way. Do you turn to anger? Do you numb yourself with noise, scrolling, eating, buying? Do you find reasons to quit the moment consistency gets boring? These are the questions that define your strength. Not how much you earn, not what you say when you're inspired, but what you do when no one is watching, and everything inside you is screaming to take the easy road. The strongest men I've known were not loud. They were not flashy. They were not constantly chasing the next thing. They were still, grounded, calculated. They did not chase discipline. They became it. And in doing so, they gained something no one could take from them: momentum without chaos. You will be tested. Not in the grand, cinematic way you imagine, but in the small moments when you're tired and still choose the harder task, when you feel envy but still speak with grace, when you feel fear and still act with integrity. These are not just good traits. They are lethal weapons. They allow you to stay in formation when the world is crumbling. They allow you to preserve energy when others are burning it on emotions. They are what separate the kings from the crowd. Understand this: the world profits from your lack of control. Every algorithm, every ad, every business that thrives on impulse, they are betting that you will break formation, that you will click, spend, react, scroll, and escape. Your peace is not profitable to them. Your chaos is. And so, every time you choose stillness over stimulation, presence over panic, you are not just winning personally. You are disrupting an entire system designed to control you. But to do that, you must become dangerous, not through aggression, but through mastery. Mastery of thought, mastery of time, mastery of emotion. This is the kind of danger they cannot anticipate, because it moves without noise, it strikes without warning, and it cannot be manipulated by cheap tactics. When you begin to practice control, the world will mock you. It will say you're too strict, too disciplined, too boring. Let them laugh. Let them wander. You are not here to be entertained. You are here to dominate your domain. And domination does not come through speed. It comes through sequence, through the quiet stacking of small disciplines until they form a wall no enemy can breach. Your calendar is a battlefield. Your habits are your soldiers. Your attention is your most valuable resource. Guard it, use it, and never, never give it away cheaply. Because every minute spent without purpose is a retreat, and too many retreats will leave you surrounded, not by enemies, but by your own regrets. You want wealth? Then earn control first. You want freedom? Then master your impulses. You want legacy? Then sacrifice the temporary for the eternal. And when you do, you will find that control is not the death of joy. It is the discipline that allows you to enjoy without destruction, to succeed without sabotage, to grow without drifting. This is how wars are won, quietly, daily, relentlessly. The mind of a soldier is not built during battle. It is built in the uneventful mornings, the quiet afternoons, the ordinary decisions that no one notices. Control is not forged in adrenaline. It is built in boredom. And that is why most men never attain it. Because they think control should feel like power, like dominance, like fire in the blood. But real control is the opposite. It is calm. It is neutral. It is choosing what works, not what excites. Your problem is not lack of resources. It is lack of rhythm. You fight chaos by fighting harder instead of stepping back to establish a code, a system, a strategy. The man who relies on motivation is a puppet. He acts only when emotion commands. But the man who relies on discipline is a general. He acts when it is time, not when he feels like it. And that, right there, is the separation between failure and freedom. I have watched warriors crumble not from defeat, but from disorganization. They prepared for the enemy, but not for themselves. They tracked the opponent's movement, but ignored their own exhaustion. And when the moment came to act, they panicked, not because they lacked strength, but because they lacked preparation. In your life, preparation is not a plan written in a journal. It is repetition, routine, boring, ruthless execution of the basics, without fail, especially when you don't feel like it. If your mornings begin in chaos, don't expect your finances to reflect order. If your days are governed by reaction, don't expect your legacy to be deliberate. Control is not something you remember once a week when you're feeling productive. It is your default state. It is what you return to every time life tries to knock you off balance. And the only way to install that default is through daily, non-negotiable acts of order. Do not romanticize this. There is no magic in a new calendar, a fresh to-do list, or an app designed to optimize your life. The only optimization that works is the one you do manually, in silence, when it would be easier not to. The war is not against laziness. It is against leniency. Your tolerance for your own drift, your allowance of mediocrity disguised as flexibility. Every time you hit snooze, you train yourself to be disobedient. Every time you eat what you said you wouldn't, you vote against your future self. Every time you avoid the hard conversation, you teach your courage to retreat. These are not small things. These are fractures in your armor. And fractures become failures when left unchecked. You cannot expect consistency from a life ruled by feelings. Feelings are unstable allies. They celebrate when you are disciplined, but they disappear when you need discipline most. What will carry you through the storm is not how inspired you are, but how rehearsed you are. How many times you have done the hard thing without applause. That is how soldiers survive. And that is how kings are made. You want control? Then build it like a fortress. Brick by brick, decision by decision, remove the noise, audit your inputs. What you listen to, what you watch, who you speak to, all of these are architects of your internal order or your internal chaos. Do not let disorder enter your mind just because it is trending, just because it is popular. The most dangerous distractions are the ones the world celebrates. And when you try to withdraw from them, the world will resist. It will call you cold, obsessed, arrogant. Let it speak. Let it misunderstand you. You are not building for applause. You are building for endurance, for generational power, for clarity that cannot be shaken by every tweet, every sale, every dopamine hit packaged as success. You think you need more time. You don't. You need fewer leaks. Your time is enough. It is simply bleeding through cracks you refuse to seal. Cracks like poor planning, weak boundaries, self-betrayal disguised as just this once. And until you close those gaps, no planner, no book, no coach can save you. Because no one can control a life you are not willing to command. This is the difference between the strategist and the struggler. The strategist wins quietly, through decisions made long before the battlefield. The struggler panics loudly, trying to fix what he never prepared for. Do not be the man who earns without retaining, who builds without protecting, who moves without aiming. You will not find your future by chasing feeling. You will build it through practice, through silence, through a daily rebellion against everything inside you that wants to take the easy path. And you will do this not because it is exciting, but because it is required. If your foundation is built on desire, then everything you build will sway with the wind. But if your foundation is built on discipline, then even storms will feel like noise. Most men live by reaction. Something happens. They respond. A feeling comes. They obey. But the strategist lives differently. He anticipates. He plans his responses before the event arrives. He trains his instincts, not to feel less, but to follow command. His own command. This is what control truly is, inner command. It is not emotionless, it is emotionally intelligent. It does not repress, it redirects. You can feel anger and still speak with clarity. You can feel fear and still take action. You can feel desire and still delay reward. Because you are no longer at the mercy of your first thought. You are governed by your last decision. And this decision, to lead yourself, is the beginning of every empire. I have seen men who thought control meant silence, stoicism, suppression. They walked like statues and spoke in riddles, hoping their image would become their discipline. But image is not formation. Discipline is not about appearing strong. It is about being strong where no one is watching. It is about waking up when no one is keeping score. It is about turning down the temptation when no one will praise you for it. You want to know who is truly in control? Watch a man when he has options, when he has money, attention, success. That is when truth appears. Anyone can pretend to be disciplined when they're broke. But when he can indulge without consequence and still chooses restraint, that is a man forged by fire. You ask how to develop this kind of strength? Strip away the conditions. If your habits only function when your mood aligns, they are not habits, they are performances. If your strategy depends on your schedule being perfect, it is not a strategy, it is a fantasy. The strategist trains in all weather. He sharpens his blade in the dark, and when the opportunity comes, he does not rise to the occasion. He returns to his preparation. Control does not mean resistance. It means readiness. It means having systems that hold you in place when your emotions try to pull you apart. It means building routines so solid that chaos cannot interrupt them without your consent. You do not rise by willpower alone. You rise by architecture, by the design of your life. And the architect of that life must be ruthless, not cruel, but clear. You must become unwilling to tolerate anything that fractures your momentum. That includes excuses, negotiations with yourself, and people who cheer for your downfall disguised as humor. You don't need to cut them all out, but you do need to outgrow them, loudly, unapologetically, and without looking back. There is a reason most men remain stuck. They romanticize effort, but they avoid structure. They chase highs, but they fear routine. They want results that look like war trophies, but they live like undisciplined villagers. You cannot be both. You are either at war with your own chaos, or you are ruled by it. And chaos will never stop. It is not an enemy you defeat once. It is a constant test. Every day, it will knock on your door, in the form of excuses, temptations, distractions, and emotional storms. And every day, you must answer with order. Not through force, but through habit. Not through shouting, but through sharp decisions made ahead of time. You want to live a life of power? Then remove your reliance on motivation. Rely instead on your system. Create rituals that serve your future, not your feelings. Build checklists that anchor your strategy. Measure what matters, not what flatters. Track your wins. Audit your weaknesses. And never let momentum become a mystery. Make it measurable. That is how war is won in the modern world, not through brute strength, but through silent systems, through calendars that are obeyed, through budgets that are honored, through alarms that are not snoozed. This is not dramatic, but it is devastatingly effective, because it removes the guessing. It eliminates the drift. It makes discipline automatic, not optional. And in time, something powerful will happen. Your identity will shift. You will no longer be the man who tries. You will be the man who does, who acts, who follows through. And that kind of man cannot be manipulated, not by temptation, not by failure, not even by success. Because he is no longer chasing control, he has become it. Control is not about perfection, it is about recovery. The undisciplined man falls and stays down, blaming the floor. The disciplined man falls and adjusts his footing, studying the ground before rising. He does not expect life to bend to his will. He expects life to test his will, and that expectation prepares him. You will slip. You will break your rules. You will forget your strategy and let chaos in. That does not make you weak. It makes you human. But what you do next, that is where your strength lives. The man in control does not spiral. He does not turn one mistake into a pattern. He returns to his formation. He does not wait for the week to end or the mood to return. He resets immediately, because to him, time is not casual. It is tactical. Those who lack control measure progress emotionally. I feel good today. I feel productive. I feel stuck. The strategist does not measure his life with feelings. He measures it with action. Did he do what was required, regardless of how he felt? If the answer is yes, then the day was a victory, no matter how heavy it felt. This is the quiet glory of control. It gives you power over time. While others waste days negotiating with themselves, you execute. While they talk of trying, you track your trajectory. You move steadily, quietly, and over weeks, then months, the distance between you and them grows until you are no longer on the same map. Control is not sexy. It is not shareable. You will not be applauded for skipping the party, for finishing the project before the deadline, for resisting the temporary high. But the reward is never in the noise. The reward is in who you become. And who you become, when forged by discipline, does not need applause. He becomes his own approval. You ask, but what if I fail? You will. You must. Because control is not built through success. It is built through friction, through resistance, through doing what you said you would do when it is no longer convenient. Each time you win that private war, you deposit strength into your identity. And strength, unlike hype, compounds. Most men want change without challenge. They want to rise without resistance. They want the rewards of war without facing the discomfort of command. But discomfort is the gate. It separates the wishers from the warriors, and only those who walk through it, again and again, develop the internal armor required to handle what they are asking for. You say you want wealth. Can you withstand the boredom of saving while others spend? You say you want focus. Can you sit through the unease of boredom without reaching for your phone? You say you want to lead. Can you make hard decisions when no one supports you? These are not rhetorical questions. These are the criteria for power, and they are not negotiable. Control is not about saying no to everything. It is about saying yes to what matters, with such intensity that everything else fades. The man in control does not deny himself pleasure. He simply chooses the right timing. He earns his rewards instead of chasing them. And in doing so, he protects their value. The undisciplined man consumes to escape. The disciplined man earns to enjoy. One is running from pain. The other is moving toward purpose. This is why your habits matter, not just because they shape your day, but because they shape your identity. Every repetition is a message to your brain. This is who I am. And your brain listens. It obeys repetition, not words, not goals, not dreams, but action. repeated until it becomes your default setting. So if you want to become the kind of man who cannot be broken by circumstance, who cannot be shaken by loss or lured by distraction, then act like him now. Even if it feels like a costume at first, even if it feels forced, because soon it will become your uniform, and eventually your skin. You are not building control for today. You are building it for the war that has not yet begun, for the crisis you cannot yet see, for the success you are not yet ready for. Because when those moments arrive, and they will, you will not have time to prepare. You will only have time to respond. And control is the only preparation that matters. Every time you postpone discipline, you invite disorder. Not instantly, but inevitably. Control, like a wall, must be maintained daily, not just when it's convenient. The moment you let it slide, just this once, only today, a crack appears. And that crack never stays a crack. It becomes a breach. And then, before you realize it, the enemy is inside. Not because they stormed your gates, but because you left them open. This is how most men lose, not through some great catastrophe, but through slow erosion, tiny compromises, small delays, the misbelief that tomorrow is safer than now. They think discipline is exhausting, but I tell you, it is chaos that drains you. Every undone task, every broken promise to yourself, every missed target, these weigh on your spirit. Discipline does not imprison you. It frees you from that burden. Look at the most fatigued men around you, not physically, but spiritually, the ones who look restless even when seated. They are not tired from doing too much. They are tired from doing too little of what matters. They live scattered, divided. Their time hijacked by everyone except themselves. Their will diluted by distraction. Their power wasted on maintaining an illusion of control instead of actually owning it. You want a sharper mind? Control your inputs. You want a stronger body? Control your schedule. You want a better future? Control your habits. Everything else is a distraction, and distractions, like termites, do not shout. They whisper. They eat away at the foundation, while the structure still appears strong, until one day it collapses. You do not need more motivation. You need fewer options. Simplicity is the friend of discipline. When everything is a possibility, nothing becomes a priority. Control begins with elimination. You cannot master your time if your calendar is open to everyone. You cannot master your money if your spending is impulsive. You cannot master your energy if your environment is chaotic. So begin cutting, not randomly, but strategically. Ask, what weakens me? What pulls me from formation? What leaves me scattered instead of sharp? And when you find the answer, remove it, without apology, without ceremony, because you are not here to accommodate chaos. You are here to command clarity. Control is not just personal, it is tactical. It makes you a better strategist, a better partner, a better leader, because it creates space between impulse and action, between reaction and decision. And that space, that tiny pause, is where all power lives. Without it, you are just another man triggered by the world, reacting to noise, making decisions from emotion. But with it, you become untouchable. You do not panic. You do not flinch. You observe, calculate, and move on your terms. That is what control gives you. Terms. Not just in negotiation, but in life. It is better to walk alone in control than to follow the crowd into confusion. Most men are not evil. They are just undirected. Most habits are not destructive. They are just unmanaged. And most dreams are not impossible. They are just buried under 1,000 undisciplined choices. So build systems that are stronger than your moods. Build routines that are more consistent than your cravings. Build a standard so high that even your off days outperform other men's best. Not because you want to prove something, but because you've decided who you are. You are not a slave to conditions. You are a master of pattern. And that pattern, that daily rhythm, is your armor. You will know you are gaining control when your actions no longer require applause. When you stop announcing your goals because you are too busy executing them. When your confidence is not volume, but precision. When you no longer fear losing, because you are anchored in something unshakable. And what is unshakable is not motivation. It is discipline, sharpened by control, enforced by decision, and protected by routine. So if the world feels too loud, too chaotic, too fast, do not match its pace. Slow down. Tighten your focus. Narrow your circle. Raise your standard. And let the world adjust to you. You are not here to chase control. You are here to become it. There is a kind of wealth that is never counted in numbers. The wealth of being untouchable by impulse, of waking each day and knowing your actions are deliberate, not reactive. This is the wealth that builds kingdoms, not the kind you flaunt, but the kind you defend, quietly, strategically, without needing to be seen. You must begin to see your time as sacred, your energy as currency, your attention as territory, because that is exactly what they are, and you are being invaded daily. Every alert, every temptation, every urgent request is a soldier from someone else's army trying to claim a piece of your battlefield. If you do not defend it with control, you will lose the war before you even draw your sword. Look around. Most people are not poor because they lack income. They are poor because they leak energy, they bleed time, they overspend attention, they are surrounded by noise and call it normal, they are constantly stimulated and call it success. But stimulation is not strength. Noise is not wealth. Movement is not progress. You will not win by doing more. You will win by doing less, better, by mastering fewer moves, by sharpening fewer tools, by eliminating what does not serve. This is not minimalism. This is militarism, strategic austerity, focus enforced by discipline, the kind of focus that makes you lethal. So if you want to rise, stop chasing more. Chase mastery, chase order, chase simplicity with the aggression of a general who knows his supply lines are limited and his enemies are many. Cut the excess. Cut the excuses. Cut the self-talk that tells you you deserve a break when you haven't earned one. Your problem is not that you ask for too much. It's that you tolerate too little. You let your energy be hijacked. You let your habits be random. You let your mood decide what your mission should dictate. That is not strategy. That is surrender disguised as self-care. You will know you are becoming disciplined when repetition becomes peace, not prison. When structure feels like freedom, not confinement. When the absence of chaos becomes your normal, and chaos feels like poison. This is the shift, from noise to stillness, from randomness to routine, from scattered to sharp. Let them call it obsession. Let them say you're intense. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be aligned. Aligned with your values. Aligned with your vision. Aligned with the version of yourself that can carry the weight of greatness without folding under it. You cannot outrun your old patterns. You must face them, audit them, replace them. That is control, not brute force, but surgical awareness. Knowing where your time bleeds, knowing which hours are fake productive, knowing which yes was a disguised no to your future. And once you see it, Once you taste that clarity, you will no longer crave the old comforts. They will feel foreign, distracting, weak. You will outgrow them like a soldier outgrows wooden swords. Not because you are better, but because you are prepared. Prepared for a level of life most will never reach. Not because it is hidden, but because it is protected by a wall of discipline most are unwilling to build. So build it, brick by brick, day by day, decision by decision, until the version of you who used to be scattered is unrecognizable, until your default becomes dangerous, until your life runs not on chance, but on command. You are not trying to control the world. You are trying to control yourself, because the man who commands himself commands everything. And that is a kind of wealth no one can tax, no one can fake, and no one can take. The world will keep telling you the same lie in different languages, that freedom is the absence of restriction, that wealth is the ability to do whatever you want, that power is control over others. But I have lived long enough to know the opposite is true. Freedom is the presence of internal restraint. Wealth is the ability to say no to temptation, and power is control over yourself when it matters most. Do not confuse access with mastery. Just because you can spend does not mean you are rich. Just because you can speak does not mean you have influence. Just because you can act does not mean you are ready. The difference is control, the quiet governor inside you that chooses timing over urgency, discipline over desire, clarity over comfort. Most men never meet that version of themselves. They are too addicted to reaction, too in love with movement, too afraid of what they might hear if they sat still long enough to listen. But if you want to build a life that cannot be shaken by mood, market, or opinion, then you must go where others won't, into silence, into boredom, into the repetition of self-command. You must stop performing. Start operating. There is no prize for appearing in control. The only reward is becoming the kind of man who can withstand pressure without breaking, who can face opportunity without overreaching, who can carry success without spilling it. That kind of man does not need to prove anything, because his life proves it for him. And if your life does not reflect your values, then you do not have values. You have wishes. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And systems are built by control, not just once, but daily, especially on the days when you feel like skipping. Because those are the defining days, not when you feel motivated, but when you don't. Not when the world is cheering, but when it's silent. That is where the warrior is forged. Not on the battlefield, but in the lonely hours when no one is watching and every part of you wants to take the easy way out. You are not tired. You are undisciplined. You are not unlucky. You are untrained. You are not lost. You are unled. And the only leader that can guide you is the one you become. Not the one you wait for. Not the one you read about. The one who rises inside you every time you choose form over feeling, mission over mood, order over ease. It starts small, a single choice, a moment of pause when you would normally rush, a breath before you react, a list before you spend, a fast before you indulge. Each act is a strike against your old self, the one who lived enslaved to emotion and environment. And over time, the strikes add up. They become momentum, and that momentum becomes identity. And that identity, disciplined, dangerous, deliberate, becomes the foundation of a life that can weather any storm. You will see others rise quickly. Let them. They will fall just as fast, because speed without control is recklessness. Loud growth invites loud collapse, but quiet growth measured, focused, patient. That is the kind that endures. That is the kind that builds legacies. You must become allergic to drift, to noise, to anything that pulls you out of alignment. You must treat your schedule as sacred, your focus as finite, your mind as a fortress, and you must guard it like a commander standing watch over the last stronghold. Because that's what your mind is, your last stronghold, the final place where you are either in command or conquered. One day, you will stand in front of the very future you once dreamed of. And in that moment, you will not be judged by how loudly you spoke, how quickly you moved, or how much you earned. You will be judged by yourself on how well you commanded the man you were becoming. Not occasionally, but daily, in silence, in repetition, in the moments no one else applauded or noticed. This is the great test of a strategist. Can you lead when there is no one to follow? Can you hold your standard when the world offers shortcuts? Can you remain firm when nothing around you affirms your discipline? Most cannot, because most want proof before they persist. But you, if you choose the path of control, will persist before proof. That is what makes you dangerous. That is what makes you different. There is no finish line for men like you. Only deeper levels of precision, sharper systems, tighter command. And in that pursuit, you will find a kind of peace no pleasure can replicate. The peace of being unshaken, of knowing that every decision was made by design, not desperation. Control will not make you immune to chaos, but it will make you untouchable by it. While others flinch, you will hold. While others chase trends, you will build foundations. While others explain, you will execute. This is what separates generals from wanderers. Not talent, not luck, but discipline maintained under pressure. There will be days when you forget, when the old cravings return, when your mind tries to seduce you into mediocrity, whispering that you've earned a break, that no one will notice, that this one exception doesn't matter. And in those moments, you must remember, every exception becomes a precedent. Every compromise becomes a habit. Every excuse becomes your next limitation. So do not argue with your lesser self. Do not debate the part of you that craves comfort. Command it, and if it refuses, outlast it. Because control is not about overpowering your weakness. It's about starving it until it no longer speaks. You are not here to dabble in greatness. You are here to enforce it. You are not here to blend in with men who tolerate chaos. You are here to create such clarity, such precision, that chaos dissolves in your presence. Not because you fight it, but because you never invite it. This life is short, not in years, but in usable days. And every day you spend in drift is a day stolen from your legacy, from the man you were meant to become, from the war you were meant to win. So when you wake tomorrow, do not ask for ease, ask for order, ask for friction, ask for the challenge that forges clarity, and when it comes, do not run. Smile. That is the battlefield, and you were born for it. You are not just earning, you are becoming. You are not just managing life, you are commanding it. You are not just surviving, you are sculpting something eternal, and it begins with control.